Shall we just hop right into it?
Yeah, buddy, let's do it.
Well, Danny Jolles, thanks for doing the podcast.
Oh my gosh, thank you for having me, buddy.
Dude, I loved your special. It was so good.
Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate that. I've been very focused on, I think it means more to me how comedians feel about it than anything else. So it's been very nice hearing people.
And it's also like you captured the
hearing comics' thoughts.
Yeah, and you captured a moment in time where it's not necessarily pandemic comedy, but like it's showing like different venues the same way, I guess, like Sam Morril did Rooftops, and now you have all these alternate ones like the Surf Shop, and
obviously that was pre-COVID when we did this. We almost put a thing at the front being like this was filmed pre-COVID. Then I was like, who's going to think I'm this irresponsible? Like, no. I think it's okay. I think people can put it together. But I was worried about it because I was like, it looks like a nightmare given the past year.
Totally. But it's still like, that's what's cool about it is that it's pre-COVID, but it was like, it anticipated where we were going.
Yeah, it did. We almost did an outdoor one. One of the 6 was almost outdoors. And then I was like, I don't want to deal with the laughs disappearing like that. Little did I know.
Everything about outdoor shows, they can be fun, but you just don't get that pop.
No, and you just lose laughs. You're just losing laughs.
Yeah.
Everywhere you go. You're just like, they just disappear up, and it's hard. I mean, it's doable. Like, I've been doing obviously a ton of them, and like, you know, some are great, but it's like you gotta work.
Yeah, you were great on Paul's show. The Low Key Outside.
You.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I loved your intro because you come up and you're like, I think you followed someone super famous, and you're like,
I followed Jeff. It was Jeff Ross, Whitney Cummings, me.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. I mean, you know, he like introed me like I was, like it wasn't weird.
Yeah. But it was
like it wasn't an obvious step down. I was like, you got to call it out. You can't go up here claiming I'm like at that level.
Yeah, but that's what was so perfect about it is you addressed it, and then you hit him with some amazing material, and you were easily like on the same level as them.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate that.
And I loved it. It was actually my favorite set, but
buddy, we'll
keep that neither here nor there.
I felt good actually. That was like the. I don't know if that's true, but I do think that was the first set I've done in a year where I was like, ooh, that was like back a little bit.
Yeah.
Like I still feel like I'm very battling my way back out of COVID comedy and just like shaking off the rust. And like I went to New York during COVID to like do shows at a certain point, and like it was, you know, I still felt rusty the whole time. I felt, I mean, when you go from every night to like 2 times a week, you're like, oof, rusty.
Yeah. Do you feel like when you're outside, there's like an element of you're not sure how serious to take it?
That's interesting. I think that yes, partially. And then on top of that, I think there's also this element of like, there's going to be distractions. Like, so there's always going to be a problem.
Yeah.
You're never able to really like control it. So it's like, it's just always an issue. There's always a car horn. There's going to be a helicopter. Like helicopter hit at the end of that Low Key Outside show.
Right.
There was a helicopter that started like just like going above us. It's like there's always going to be a problem. And you just have to like be ready for it. It's never going to be like a fun, flowy set. It's going to be like hits and misses. And like that Low Key Outside show where we were on the truck, it's like, I said when I got off, I think I said it to you when I got off. I was like, that truck is moving.
Yeah, it
when
wobbles,
you're on top of
yeah.
it. It is not still. You think it's still. It is not. Whole time I'm like that.
Yeah.
Not fun.
Something to adjust to. One of the reasons I want to have you on the podcast, because I found that you're in a very interesting position because you're a successful actor, and I'm sure it's a big part of your, financial security. And now you're moving into doing this special on your own. Do you start to feel those pressures that like a lot of like YouTube driven comedians are, like building your page, doing a Patreon and making that part of your business? Or are you kind of sticking towards the more, I'm going to act and do it my own way?
That's a great question. For me, to me, and this is a real business, like who knows whether this is smart or dumb. But to me, a special is not to make money. A special is a walking billboard for your live dates.
Right.
And that's how I view the special, because I will putting it out on YouTube like I did, and between Don't Tell and 800-Pound Gorilla taking their cuts to help this thing get out there, I think it's almost impossible for me to make money. I think I've made it is almost physically impossible for me to make money off this special. Like, I have given away everything on top of a pie that wasn't going to make any money anyway. But I believe in what it's going to do overall for me. And so I'm doing it. We're putting it out there. But like, I think to me, no, I don't think I'll do the Patreon thing. I don't really want to. I think to me, it's like stand up, particularly video wise. Like I remember, we had a lot of discussions with places, because the business model is like you put it behind a paywall initially. That's like the standard thing you do with special. It's like pay $8 to see my special for like 2 hours on iTunes.
It, yeah.
Yeah, and I literally was like, guys, there's 5 million free specials.
Yeah.
Who is going to buy my special? Why would they buy my special? Who? What? In what world?
Yeah.
Do we see this happening?
It's short-term thinking, because the paywall discourages people. Like, if it's on these different platforms, sometimes you're like, well, I don't have a login for it. Like, everyone has YouTube. So the eyeballs are more valuable to advertise you than any $8 you could get. For
sure. And on top of that, because then it's like there's these other streamers and networks that will buy specials, but you're like, nobody watches nobody goes there for specials.
Yeah.
And so once basically a couple of the big places said no to the special, I was like, it was like third on. I was like Netflix, one other one, and then it was like YouTube to me. YouTube was the third choice for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's starting to be the number one choice for some people. I mean,
I don't think don't hold me to this.
Yeah.
But I don't think I'll ever put a special not on YouTube.
Right, because you're a believer of the internet, so I hear.
I do. I believe in the power of I still believe that the internet finds good things. We still don't even have a ton of views on this thing, But
it's a long game. It'll get there.
It's a long game. It's doing fine. It's enough. We're at 20K. It's enough where it's not horrific.
Right.
But I just really believe in the internet rewards good free stuff.
Yeah. And it is relative to your subscriber count, quite huge. And I guess that was my driving
100%.
Question, because we have a lot of friends that have put out specials in a similar place. This is their first YouTube special, and they weren't YouTube comedians, so to speak, and that wasn't their business model. And now they've been kind of pushed to be okay, please subscribe, do this thing. And I remember one time, I think a couple years ago, maybe a long time ago, you blasted out to all your friends on Facebook, and I got it, be like, hey, I'm sorry, I'm doing a Facebook page for likes. I don't want to do it, but I'm doing it.
Sounds like me. That sounds like how I would do it. That's genuinely the way I do things. Yeah. I mean, you have to do stuff like that because it's really mad. I mean, unfortunately, our industry
and I feel the
is
same
broken.
way. I totally related to it. That's why it stuck with me.
Our industry is broken right now. Yeah. I mean, I'm not. I think all of us are pretty open about it. About right now, the good comedy clubs care about who's there on weekends, but there's a lot of comedy clubs that are the TikToker will bring in more people, and for the record, the TikToker will bring in more people.
Yeah,
they're right. They're not wrong. It's just a matter of will those people not leave the show and want to ever come back to your comedy club, which to me seems like the danger of the business model that they're entering. Because it's in theory, and there's some comedy clubs that do this where they have a audience that shows up regularly because it's basically they trust the comedy club to book good acts.
Exactly.
And these are the great comedy clubs. These comedy clubs where it's if you do a weekend at some of these places and it's it'll sell out.
Yeah.
They always sell it out because that owner curates a really great diverse lineup every single month. And so that group keeps coming back and they keep getting to see new comics, either comics they recognize or brand new people. But when you send people to a bad comedy show, They never come back. It's brutal.
Yeah, it's
Bad
hard.
comedy is not fun. Like, that's it.
Yeah, it is a trust. And as a business, you're handing for that one night, you're handing the power over to that individual who's bringing their audience, right? Mm-hmm. And you might never get that power back in the long run if you keep going down that road. You might always be dependent on that.
For sure. I've opened for plenty of like, I've opened for some people who are more digital stars. I love opening for them. I've told my reps 100 times. I was like, I'll open for them all day because I'll just, their audience is excited when I go up because I know what I'm doing. They don't really know what they're doing. So it's like tough because you see them leave kind of being like, not going to see that person again. It didn't go well. And by the way, there are some people who are very big on TikTok who are also very good stand-up comics.
True. Yeah, for sure.
Who beat this entire rant I'm on.
Yeah, they're like both sides of the thing.
Yeah. There's people like, there's Trevor Wallace's, who's like genuinely a great comic. He's a really funny comic.
Definitely.
So you can put him on a show, he will deliver. But there's some of these guys and girls, you're like, dude, these guys don't, it's not even that they're not good. It's like they don't even know how to do it. They've never done it before, but bookers will just be like, oh, put them in a room. It's so dangerous. It's so dangerous to me. It kills our crowd.
Totally. I think some of the fans, if their fans go to see them, and I've seen this happen where it's like they're so excited to hang out with them that they're happy about it. They're not evaluating it as like how good were the jokes necessarily. They're like, I spent an evening with this person and I had a great time.
There's definitely people like that. And I've seen that with crowds too, where they've been like, who cares? Like it was just cool to get to, but there's others where it's like, but they'll come up to you after, like if I open for them, like they'll come up to me afterwards and they'll be like, hey, we're really excited to see him, but like you were really good. Like there's that kind of energy because it's like, they know it wasn't great. It was good enough. And like some of these people are really creative. That's what makes them really good at TikTok. So it's like, if they can figure out a way to make their TikToks happen on stage, it's good. But when they just try to do pure stand-up, it's like, ooh.
Do you ever try to bury them? Or
you can't bury somebody who has a sold out crowd there for them. You can't do it.
Right.
I don't think. In my opinion. Like have I tried to bury them? No. If anything, actually, it's like I really take it seriously it's almost actually me being like, I have to make this the best set on the planet so this crowd wants to come back.
Oh, that's very good. Long game. You're long game Danny.
Anybody showing up to a comedy club and leaving going, man, I want to go see more stand-up is good for our business.
Totally.
That's what we want. We want people to go, have a good time, and leave and go, man, I want to come back. If we all in stand-up can do that, we will have sold-out crowds everywhere.
Once you start booking bigger and bigger names, then it's like, then the audience expects like more and more fame. And it gets this weird, like reinforcing cycle where I feel the pressure. I'm like, well, what famous person am I going to surprise them this week? I'm like, well, can I just make a good show only? Can that only be the focus?
I know. And it's so hard. But then, ideally you have somebody like who's a good example of like somebody, an Emma Willman.
I love Emma Willman. So funny.
Who like, will people necessarily recognize her name beforehand? No. Will every single person who goes to that show leave being like, that was awesome? Yes. Emma will just blow everybody out of the water. That's what she does.
And it is like, it goes to show it's almost like a fictitious pressure to be like, to like, be like, you have to have someone famous. Like, you just have to have good. Good is most important.
It's what makes the don't tell / like,
yes,
a lot of these shows model where they don't announce who's there ahead of time because they just trust the model. And then it's like, if a Whitney Cummings shows up, awesome. But if Emma Willman shows up, also awesome. You're going to have a great time either way.
Right.
Stand-up comedy is so good when it's good.
Yeah, the best. Are you? It sounds like you're homies with Emma.
I was just talking to her on the phone. That is why I was thinking of her. So funny. But we just did a corporate gig right before this. That's why. Did a corporate Zoom right before this bad boy.
Yeah, I was doing some shows in New York, and I just hit her up. I was like, hey, what are you doing? And then she's like, oh, come meet me at the Cellar. And she like brought me in. I hung with her. I watched her do her set. And then it was a good time. She's just such a giving and like nice person.
She's the best. She's one of the best people. And she's so funny, so talented.
Yeah.
Such a talented person. My Emma Willman impression.
Yeah.
She goes into that voice. She'll talk. You get it. And that's an impression for nobody. But shout out Emma Willman. Go check her out.
Yeah. And you started in New York City?
Yeah, like an idiot.
Why like an idiot? That's the best place to start.
No, I disagree. I think everybody, if anybody's listening to this thinking about where to start, my personal opinion is you start in a small town, you know, a Chicago, you start in a Boston, start in a DC, you start in even an Austin might not be this anymore, but an Austin before. Yeah. Any place but that. Salt Lake City. Name your place. San Francisco. You start there. You do your first couple of years there. Get it out of your system. Get your terrible out of your system. Then when you're good enough, you start going to New York. But starting in New York, you just get the shit beat out of you so early. You know, you're not good, and everybody's judging you. You're up against comics who are great. You know, comics who are just dominating everybody, and you're like, oh, it's like.
I started here in LA, which I think was fine. I came at it through music, so I was already like kind of in the biz, so to speak, and so I felt like I got.
And now I don't know this background, so forgive me.
Yeah.
But so you were in the music world. I see a guitar. I see a guitar bottom right. Is that what you played?
No, I just picked that up to learn during quarantine. I was more of a producer engineer, so I'd just be like, I direct people like, one more time, do it again, and songwriting and stuff. And it's a similar brain to comedy.
I've seen Walk the Line.
Yeah, exactly. So, I just transitioned. And when I was in New York and other places, people told me I should do it. I'm like, I didn't understand it. Like, I was like, what is it? You just seem like, it didn't seem like a real thing. And I just didn't know enough about it. And then once I started having like some friends here in comedy, and then they took me around to the clubs, and then you start getting the bug, like maybe I should try it. And then I did a mic and it went well. I'm like, I think I could do this. Mm-hmm. And then, so I got some of the like, there's like certain amateurism in this business where you're kind of like very desperate and like kind of like really green. And so I got that kind of out of the way when I was doing music. And so I felt like starting in LA wasn't that big a detriment to me personally.
Yeah. I went from like college kid who had been taught like actor instincts, which is the polar opposite, like the most thirsty way that they teach you. They're teaching you to be thirsty. They teach you. Like literally, I remember being taught like email reps. You should be emailing agents and managers. Like horrible advice in retrospect. Horrible. This is what I was being taught by my teachers. They were like, you got to email them. Send them your headshot.
Yeah, I remember I took an acting class out here actually. And it was the same thing. It's like some of the stuff they say, you're like, that's not the right thing to do.
Horrible advice. I like mentor kids at NYU when I can.
Yeah.
And every one of them, I'm like, listen to me. What they're telling you is not true. Don't do any of the things they're telling you.
Why do you think they're so disconnected? Like, and it happens in all things. Like, so much of teaching about this business goes against how it actually works.
Because you don't want to say, because it's like because the answer is sadder, right? The answer is a sadder. It's because you want to believe like send your thing. Some agent's looking for you.
Right.
The truth is to young actors, and I say that, is like they don't give a shit about finding you. They could care less about finding you. What they care about is what'll make them money. So what you need to do is you need to not think about how do I get on their radar. What you need to figure out is how can I make myself a product that they could potentially make money off of, right?
Yeah.
I never got signed by reps because I was a good actor. I got signed by reps because I was a good writer, and I did stand up. And so I had proven all these other things. And then they were like, oh, and then I was like, and I act actually. But it was like, nobody ever cared.
Yeah, there is a certain thing in this town. It's like anyone will meet with you once, and then that second time they'll meet with you again, but you better be like, all right, this is how we're making money together. Even if it's not explicit, like there needs to be something real.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, you need to come up with a way to look somebody in the eye and be like, here's how I'll make you money.
Yeah, and especially in comedy, like you have access to, everyone is kind of around, and you can either embarrass yourself kind of quickly or create a good opportunity.
Oh, for sure. I mean, you can go up on show all the time. I mean, you're on shows where you're like, oh, there's reps here. I mean, that's another thing about why I don't like starting in New York or LA. I tell people don't start here because it's like reps will see you and they're going to remember that first impression. So like my personal instinct is like hide out for your first couple of years. And when you feel like you really have a banger, at least 5 to 10 that you're like, come, restart your process. But now you actually have a banger 5 or 10. So if somebody comes to a show and sees you, they're actually like, ooh.
Yeah. Because it's kind of like the 90s when you could hide out and change your personality or like become a different person. Yeah. Now your whole internet follows you. Yeah. Like I have every contest of the last 10 years on my iPhone. I'm like, I don't need that. I'm pocket dialing people I don't even know.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I've got so many names in here. I'm like, that's so funny. We met one time at a show. We exchanged numbers, and now I don't know why I have it.
Yeah.
But that's like the sad advice. So that's why I don't think that's why I think they do the same thing with like young comics. Like I hear comedy classes all the time where they're like, 6-week comedy class. And I'm like, I'll do it for you in 5 minutes. Go to an open mic every night. That's all there is to this. It's not a hard, that's all it is. It sucks.
Yeah. It's not glamorous advice.
It's not glamorous advice. It's like, just go to an open mic.
Yeah, and you can't charge a recurring monthly fee for that advice.
Yeah, Well, what about agents? You don't worry about it. Do open mics for 3 years and then worry about agents.
It is weird that like it all comes once you're ready. Like the cream really doesn't like very rarely do talented people not get some opportunity. Mm-hmm. They might not get all the opportunities. They might not get the best opportunities, but they get opportunities.
Yeah. But you'll make a living if you're really good and you're nice and easy to work with. That second one also can screw you up.
Yeah. I feel like this generation's figured out the nice part more than the next. I don't know. I could be wrong, but it feels like the younger ones are much more pleasant.
I agree. I do think bitterness is a dangerous disease that I still see spread and I think is really dangerous. And I'm always like, we should all be rooting. Again, it's the thing I said. It's like literally the same thing of like, we should all be rooting for each other. A comic doing badly is not something we want. We want every comic to do well. We are rooting for each other. My friend getting cast in a movie or show above me is a good thing for all of us. Just like be supportive, be there for your friends.
I mean, that's like a very healthy and positive attitude to have. And I don't think most people have that.
But it's
not that they're not positive,
advice.
but like I think a lot of it's natural human instinct to be like, oh, I could have done that. I should have gotten that.
Well, it feels like a competition, right? And a lot of the TV shows and stuff they've done about stand-up has been so based in competition.
Right.
And the truth is we're not competing against each other. There is plenty of food to go around. We are not in a competition. And in particular, your friends, you're certainly not competing with. If anything, they are probably that's what's my entire career has come off friends. Very little has come through like actual auditioning. And then it's like it's all come from a friend helping.
Yeah, because it again goes against what they teach you, which is like, how do you get jobs? A lot of it's like, oh, who can do it? Oh, Danny can do it. Mm-hmm. That's like, I mean, and you can't, there's nothing you can say in a class that makes that palatable or learnable. Yep. You're just like, you're around.
Say yes to everything. Get a day job. You should not rely monetarily on this industry until it is very clear you should. Until then, get a day job. Go out every night. Say yes to every opportunity for the most part. Trust the process. And trust that if you're good, eventually people will go, oh, I can make money if Danny's here. Danny will help us make money because he'll make the show better, or he'll make he can open for me on the road or whatever. Or that's just your friend stuff. And then agents and managers will see that and they'll be like, oh, he's profitable.
Right.
And then all of a sudden you're in that world. It's all that. And it all stems from the very boring baseline of just be a good person, show up on time, root for your friends, and work really hard.
I love it. And sometimes they can look at you and be like, hey, look at Danny over there making money by himself. Let's go talk to him.
Yeah. And also it's like everybody was like, oh, wow, you got this crazy opportunity. And I'm like, I only got this opportunity because I literally got passed over for everything else. So I just was a guy who was around for long enough.
Right.
And to this day, I'm still like, I mean, particularly after COVID, where COVID took away like everything I had going, it's like I'm right back to that place of like, I don't know who of my friends is probably going to end up saving me, but it's going to be one of my friends.
But you can
Guarantee
feel it.
you.
The energy's coming back.
Yeah, the energy's going to come back, and at some point, I don't know who it'll be. It might be a friend, might be just an acquaintance, but somebody at some point is going to be like, oh, I have to do this show, or I have this whatever. Danny Jolles just shows up, and he'll do the best he can, you know? And that's, like, pretty good, and that'll be enough.
Yeah. Maybe it'll be this podcast.
I like to think I deliver. Maybe it'll be this very
what
podcast.
We're doing right now. Since you have a musical theater background, did you ever think about being a singer? I know you sing and stuff like that. Was that ever part of your dream?
Here's the thing. I'm not good. Like, I'm good enough to get by with comedy, but like, if you had me like straight up do like a serious singing thing, it would not go great. It's like, but even, well, no. The short answer is no. I would love to do musical theater. I love musical theater. Going to Broadway one day would be like truly like, I would take that opportunity in a second. Mm-hmm. I would take Book of Mormon in 2 seconds if they ever would have me. Like 100%.
Yeah, let's put it out there. Let's get it.
I've said many times to Book of Mormon.
Yeah.
If you're looking for a Jewish version of Elder Cunningham, which I know goes against most things, but I can hide the Jewishness a little. If you want that character, I would love to do it.
Yeah, I could see you doing it.
I could do it. But I'm not a great singer dancer. I always was like pretty good at both. But the truth is, like, to compete like on Crazy X, I mean, I just had to work really hard. I had to like, they would teach us all the dance. Kat Burns was the choreographer. She was the best, and she would teach us all the dance, and everybody else would get it, and I would not even be close. And there would be concern in the room, and I would just be like, give me the night, and I would just go home, and I'd do it 500 times alone in a room. And then the next day I'd show up, and I'd be able to, still not as good as the people who were actually talented, but like I could compete.
Yeah,
and I could
you're too
look
hard
okay.
on yourself.
I'm not. I say it also as a compliment to myself.
Yeah.
Like, I had to work. I'll just outwork. You just have to outwork people sometimes.
Yeah.
But like, I remember, like, I had my big full song, "What You Missed While You Were Popular." I practiced that dance. I probably had 4 days till. They gave me a long time. Like, Kat like snuck me in the first one. Was like, here's what you have to do, and I had 4 days to learn. And I just drilled it. And by that day, I had it down, and I was doing really well. And then the scene was with Vincent Rodriguez III, who is a Broadway level talent. And I remember 4 days grinding this thing. These 6 dancers that were with me who were like incredible and were like so supportive. With like this really supportive group, but I just grinded hours and hours and hours of working on it. And Vince, I remember like third take, Vince was like, so the dance is basically, and did it exactly the way it was supposed to be done. Yeah, I was like, it literally took him just watching it twice to get it.
It is like the amount of rehearsing and like actual talent that musical theater people have. It's just like, it's such a different level or a different kind of talent than like what music people have. Because most music people, they don't really have training. They can kind of hack their way through a few chords. But like when people who can do it come in, you're always like, whoa, this is different.
To be a swing on Broadway, like, those are the most talented humans on the planet.
Yeah, it's insane.
To be a swing on Broadway, you're able to cover 7 different dance routes. The entire production of a Broadway musical, you can do 7 different routes and not get lost.
Yeah, and your pitch is on a different level, like everything.
Everything. They just nail it every time. Unbelievable.
And is that like, does that come into your brain as something you want to do as like a young kid, or is it you figured out in college or high school?
I had dreams of like, when I went to NYU, I wanted to be a dramatic actor. In particular, drama was like the thing I most wanted to do. Still want to do drama. Probably like number one thing I want to do is like be in a drama, be in dramas, be in like that stuff I find like so exciting. And I went to NYU to learn drama. I studied like Strasberg, The Method was my studio. And that's what I studied. And then musical theater was a part of that, was a big component of it. But pretty quickly I was like, just don't have it. Like, I can do the funny version. I can do the funny character, but like, I can't be. I just can't. I can't dance like these people can. I can dance fine, but like, there's gonna have to be a reason they're putting me in something. It's not gonna be off of a dance call.
Yeah, I felt that same way after taking an acting class. I'm like, this is not where my skill set is. Especially like during the class, like sometimes I just make a little joke in between, and they're like, "Don't do that." I'm like, and the whole class is laughing. I'm like, they liked it. They're like, the teacher's like, "No, don't. That's not what we're here for."
Oh, they take themselves very seriously in the acting world. Very serious world. But I loved it. I thought, and acting, I really felt like I was good at. Dramatic acting, I still believe like I'm pretty good at. And comedic acting, I think I'm okay at. But musical theater, it was just like I hit that wall where I was like, these people are just better at this than me. And unless it's, I remember going to an open call for LeFou in Beauty and the Beast. And I remember I like had like a shot at it for Broadway, but it was only because it was that specific a character. And they still didn't go with me, obviously.
I think you're where you're supposed to be.
We're supposed to be. We're doing okay. We're doing okay.
I want to close with a few questions. One is, if you were like, what's one of the things you invested in terms of your career that really paid off? You're like, I'm going to spend my time doing this one path, and it really led you to where you wanted it to be. It doesn't need to be monetarily. It can be time-wise.
It's a great question. Outside of the obvious of stand-up, like really investing in time-wise, letting go of like sketch, improv, and being like, I'm going to put in the time in stand-up. I'm going to grind. I'm going to have miserable nights. This is what I'm going to do, which I think was a great investment of time in the long run. Years of hell, but in the long run, I do believe like the correct investment. Trying to think if there's anything I'm like. I mean, friendships. Like, honestly, it's like friendships. Like, I mean, look, a Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, I like to think I did a good job of casting director, switched my role, etc. Like, there's plenty of reasons why I ended up on the show. But at the end of the day, Rachel and I talk about it all the time. It's like, I was in her shows at UCB for no money.
Right.
And I just did it. And I helped her carry a piano there. And it was super heavy in the middle of the day, hot New York sun, carrying a piano, like electric keyboard. But like, I just did it because I was like, this is my friend and we help each other. And that mindset for years, people would be like, Danny, you're too not, charge people. If they're going to put you in your show, you got to charge. And I just was like, no, trust in the friendship.
Yeah.
Trust in the friendship. And there are plenty of people, by the way, in my life who I've helped out 5 million times. Never got anything back.
Yeah, the one-way streets.
But it takes a couple. But that's okay. I would still do it again because you have to do general investment in. If you think somebody's funny and you think they're your friend, just do stuff. Help them, be supportive, genuinely. Don't expect anything back. But then, like, it does come back to you. It will come back to you from the most unlikeliest sources.
Yeah, it's amazing that, like, if you think transactionally, it never works out. And then when you don't, you end up getting back.
I read so many things online where they're like, you're an artist, you should never be doing anything unpaid. And I'm like, I'm personally somebody who's like, get a day job. Like, just because I was not funded by parents. Like, I had a day job. I just accepted day job life.
Yeah, it's good for you. It's good to have some money in your pocket in this town.
Nothing is good creatively when you're stressed about money. Yeah. As somebody who is currently a little stressed about money because of COVID and what it's done to me, like, I'm like, oh yeah, it's really hard to work when you're stressed about money. It is not a good thing. You do not want to be stressed about money. I was just literally talking to a young comic yesterday over Zoom who like hit me up. And I was like, I'll Zoom with you. And I was telling him, I was like, get a day job. Don't let anyone tell you it's look down on you for it. It is a good thing to do. Get a day job. Yeah. And then do anything you can for free. Like, just do it.
Yeah, it builds character. It's good for your pocket. And it takes a second level of discipline to not get stuck, but it's worth it.
Yeah. And maybe you do. I mean, look, you're talking to a guy who still will host at comedy clubs that people are like, why are you hosting? And I'm like, because they ask me to host. I'm just, and maybe I sometimes get stuck at clubs where I have to be like, hey, I'm really not a host anymore, but I'll still do it if it's stage time and whatever. It's like, I also just love the art form.
Yeah.
If you love what you're doing, just do what you can.
Yeah. And staying in the mix is powerful too. In these clubs and places where it's like, there's so many people clawing.
Particularly right now where clubs are just starting to come back. I'm like, dude, if I can help as a host right now out of the gates, these clubs have been struggling for a year. I've told a bunch of clubs, I've like messaged just being like, hey, I'm down to do anything you need to help you guys because we need our that's another thing is like comedy clubs are important for this business and we need them to succeed. Yeah. We want comedy. I know it can feel like they're the enemy, but they're not. They're the best thing we have going for us. Even the booker that like, there's bookers out there who do not like me, and I'm like, I'm still rooting for that club, and I'm still down to do whatever they need. Particularly right now, I'm like, anything you guys need.
Yeah, I can't imagine who that is, and like just being around. That's how we met. Like I think we did a lab show together, and I was like, "You're funny, come do my show," and like just being around, like that's how.
Yep. Just if you're on stage, hold it. Young comics. It's like the business of comedy. I'm like, yeah, here's the business. Get on stage, hold a microphone on stage every night, at least once a night. Yeah, that's your business. Just worry about that. Be a nice person.
You said something great about friendships. And like, I remember like in New York, I made so many friends because you're constantly, everyone needs help like with everything. Mm-hmm. And so and I haven't made as many friends in LA, like as New York. Like I don't know why that is. Maybe just because you're older, you make less friends as you get older. But like in New York, you're constantly every week, you're meeting new people. Yeah.
It's a very, LA is so spread out. It's a little bit tougher, and there's just less. So you're also not seeing as many people.
Yeah.
But I'm a big like, whatever you need, man. Just be that person.
Yeah. What are your goals for this new year coming out of COVID? I'm sure you got some big ones.
Survive?
No, come on.
No, I mean, really, it's like, honestly, it's like, I had a lot of great things going. I lost basically everything. COVID just took away every job I had going, including some like truly incredible opportunities that just like disappeared. And it's like, at the end of the day, I still believe I'm good at what I do. And it's like literally going back to like starting out again, like trusting the process. Like, all right, we're back to what do I need to do to get my name out there and get working again? And it's coming back and I'm starting to work again a little, but like, it's my goals for this year right now are just like get good at comedy again, work on the next special, things that I can control. That's like also a big thing with the goals I always have is I'm always like, I see people have goals of like, I want to be passed at the blah. And I'm like, I don't love that goal because you can't control that goal.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's not in your power. What you can control is writing 30 new minutes that you like. That's in your control. What you can control is finishing a pilot. What you can control is making a 5 sketches in the first 6 months of the year. That's within your control. Getting, it's like I want to say like I want to be cast on I want to be a series regular by the end of the year. It's like I don't know.
Yeah.
Who's to say?
Right. It's like I want to be in Mission Impossible 12. Like, well, okay.
Yeah, it's like you could. Yeah, but like that's just a goal that you're just going to stare at and be like, what can I do to get there?
Yeah.
I try to have very practical goals. It's like, I wrote 2 movies during COVID.
Oh, wow. That's big.
I'd love if there's one in particular, this Hanukkah movie I wrote with my friend Skylar that I think is just really great. And it's like finding a home for that. But that's a goal. That's not on the goal list because it's like, I can't control whether that thing sells. What I can control is like the next next movie I write and like just writing and staying creative. That's the stuff. So that's my goals. I know it's not as like exciting an answer as people want, but I'm always like, that's to me as like a comic. I'm always like, don't set goals you can't control. Yeah. Because then you just end up staring at your goals being like, oh, how? It's like set goals you can be like, I either did it or I didn't, and it wasn't because of anybody but me.
I love that because it's actually very on topic of everything we've talked about today, which is like do things you can do, be good, be prolific, and the stuff will come to you. Don't worry about other people and their expectations. And
Trust
set
the
your own
process.
goals. Trust your own goals. Trust that you've chosen the right thing. And I love it. I'm a fan. And I think I'm going to do some of those things myself.
Buddy, you're already doing those things.
Yeah. So where do people find you? Give us your socials. Tell us all your everythings.
All right, here come the plugs.
Boom, boom, boom.
So first off, I have a special called 6 Parts on YouTube. It is free. I cannot, as you've heard, make $1 off this thing. But I really believed in it, and I took a risk on myself because I believed in the product. So I would love it if you gave it a chance. It is the biggest ask I have right now for anybody is just give it a chance. It's called 6 Parts. So there's breaks. So if you don't like it, you can easily get out. But I'm telling you, I think you'll like it. And it would mean the world. Follow me on social media. It does help. At Danny Jolles, Jolles. Wonderful. Third plug, most important. Stand-up comedy is like hockey. It is fun to watch on TV. It's a different experience live. Go look up your local comedy club. Don't worry about seeing me. Don't worry about seeing anyone else. Just go see live stand-up comedy if you haven't. Outdoor show, whatever you feel comfortable with in COVID. Just go see live stand-up comedy. You'll have the best night of your life. You'll fall in love with it.
I love it. And when you watch a special, comment, drop likes, do all those things, subscribe to the channel.
Helps.
All that stuff is like super important. That is money in our pocket. So, Danny, I really appreciate you doing the podcast. It was good catching up with you, and I hope we can hang soon.
Oh, my absolute pleasure. Hopefully I'll see you. I'm sure I'll see you around.
Yeah, the stand-up gates are flooding open and things are happening. So
they're coming open. They're coming open slowly. It's very exciting.
All right, later.
All right, buddy.
Bye.